Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Saloni Khanderia Yadav and I am from National Law University, Delhi. Today we would be understanding the concept of regional trade agreements under the World Trade Organization. For this, the objectives of this module would be to understand the concept of customs union and free trade areas and whether the recent proliferation of free trade areas is a building block or stumbling block in the development of multilateralism. The topics covered are an introduction to customs union and free trade areas, the inception of regionalism, the types of regional trade agreements, understanding Article 24 of the GATT 1947, the condition precedent for the creation of a customs union and free trade area, understanding what is a customs union, understanding what is meant by the phrase substantially all trade, understanding the phrase substantially the same duties and regulative restrictions of commerce, understanding what happens when the formation of a customs union leads to the increase in duties with third parties. Thereapart, we will understand the measure imposed by a customs union such as the formation that must be necessary if it is inconsistent with the GATT rules, defining a free trade area, understanding examples of free trade area, understanding the sudden proliferation of RTAs as stepping stones or stumbling blocks, understanding regionalism versus multilateralism, understanding the motivating factors of regionalism, and understanding finally whether regionalism is a stepping stone or a stumbling block in the way of multilateralism. Now we would understand regional trade agreements as an exception to the Article 1 of the GATT 1947. As explained in the previous modules, Article 1 has an exception in the form of regional trade agreements. Hence, customs union and free trade areas under Article 24 of the GATT are an exception to the principle of most favored nation treatment. The inception of the World Trade Organization in 1995 has witnessed and in fact even encouraged the formation of regional trade agreements. Accordingly, Article 24 of the GATT 1947 facilitates and regulates the functioning of regional trade agreements. In fact, RTAs operate as an exception to the significant principle of most favored nation treatment discussed previously. Now we would understand the inception of regionalism. Regional trade agreements have proliferated since the birth of the WTO in 1995. In the year 2013, approximately 575 RTAs were notified in the WTO. Also, some of the most common reasons why nations are now turning to regionalism are because it involves the interests of a smaller group of countries. This in turn makes it easier for countries involved to reach some form of consensus than at a global level where the interests of countries at different economic levels is involved. Common forms of RTAs are preferential trade agreements. Preferential trade agreements, as the name suggests, provide preferential access to the members of such regional trade blocs and thus lowers the tariffs on goods originating from the members of such preferential trade agreements. Secondly, common markets or economic unions. Common markets or economic unions are an advanced form of regionalism in which members agree to harmonize laws, regulations, policies and sometimes even currencies. The European Union is a classic example of a common market. Thirdly, a customs union. Customs union endeavor to eliminate tariffs and reduction of commerce. In addition, they also bind a common tariff for non-members. Fourthly, free trade areas. Like customs union, free trade area also endeavor to eliminate tariff and restrictions of commerce. However, they differ in the fact that members to an free trade area are not obligated to impose a common tariff upon non-members, like in the case of a customs union. Now, we would understand regionalism vis-a-vis Article 24 of the GATT 1947. Article 24 of the GATT 1947 reads, the contracting parties recognize the desirability of increasing freedom of trade by the development through voluntary agreements of closer integration between the economies of the countries parties to such agreements. They also recognize that the purpose of a customs union or a free trade area would be to facilitate trade between the constituent territories and not to raise barriers to the trade of other contracting parties with such territories. That means that Article 21 seeks that duties and other regulations of commerce which are imposed at the time of the formation of customs union should not be higher for non-members than they were before the formation of the customs union, and that with the formation of the customs union or free trade area would be prevented in the case of the first criteria is not met. In other words, if duties and other regulations of commerce are higher for non-members than they were before the formation of customs union or free trade area, then this free trade area or customs union could not be formed. Now we should understand what is a customs union. A customs union is a substitution of two or more customs territories for one customs territory. In other words, it means that two or more nations which are members of the WTO may come together to form a customs union. For this purpose, such members of the customs union must eliminate duties and other restrictive regulations of commerce. This is done for the purpose of further liberalizing international trade between the members of such customs union. Nevertheless, duties and other regulations of commerce which are pertaining to quantitative restrictions as explained in Article 11 and Article 13 of the GATT, balance of payment as explained in Article 12 of the GATT, exception to the principle of non-discrimination as explained in Article 14 of the GATT, exchange arrangement as explained in Article 15 of the GATT, and general exceptions as explained in Article 20 of the GATT are few regulative restrictions of commerce which are prevented even on the formation of a customs union. Now we would understand the term elimination of substantially all trade. In brief, while the GATT 1947 encourages the formation of customs union between its members, it also ensures that such formation does not raise the barriers to trade for those territories which are not parties to such customs union. Hence, duties and other regulative restrictions of commerce are eliminated for substantially all trade between the members of the customs union. We would understand this term with the help of the Turkey importation of textiles dispute. The facts of this dispute in brief were that Turkey entered into an interim agreement with the European Union in order to form a customs union in accordance with Article 24, Clause 5A of the GATT 1947. As a result, Turkey imposed quantitative restrictions or QRs on 19 types of textiles to be imported from India. India challenged this measure before the panel in order to examine the scope of Article 24 read along with Articles 11 and 13 of the GATT 1947. Turkey's arguments in this case were, Turkey argued that the formation of customs union under Article 24 of the GATT permitted certain violation to the principles of the GATT WTO which were otherwise inconsistent. Hence, violation of Article 11 and 13 and imposition of QRs by Turkey on Indian textiles and clothing was permitted when Turkey did so for the purpose of forming the customs union. It must be noted that this was Turkey's argument. However, the panel ruled that the ruling is in favor of India. The panel therefore confirmed, and as was confirmed by the appellate body, adopted the view that the scope of Article 24 Clause 8A was to increase freedom of trade between its members. This means that this may consequently be improved by closer integration between some nations. However, the panel warned that closer integration between nations in the form of customs union must only increase trade and further liberalize international trade and not under any circumstances raise the barriers to trade of other members to trade with such territories. thereby creating an adverse effect on trade. However, what is then meant by substantially all trade? Despite the fact that the phrase substantially all trade has not been defined in the GATT, it does not mean that quantitative restrictions or QRs can be imposed on third parties in a bid to liberalize trade between members of a customs union. Against that backdrop, the panel in Turkey textiles dispute noted that a customs union should not raise barriers to trade on the whole, and the purpose of the GATT provisions on the same was to liberalize trade. The understanding on the interpretation of Article 24 of the GATT, however, clarifies that the calculation for the purpose of understanding whether the duties and regulations of commerce are more trade restrictive and the general incident applicable before the formation of such union, an overall assessment of the weighted average tariff rates of the customs duty should be calculated. Now we would understand what are free trade areas. Article 24 clause 5b and Article 24 clause 8b pertain to formation of free trade areas. Free trade areas have been defined by virtue of Article 24 8b to mean a group of two or more customs territory in which duties and other regulative restrictions of commerce, except where necessary, those permitted under Article 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 20 are permitted on substantially all trade between the constituent territories in products originating in such territories. Therefore, the prerequisites for the formation of FTA is when two or more customs territory come together and they eliminate duty and other regulative restrictions of commerce with respect to substantially all trade between them. Nevertheless, the exceptions are regulations of commerce and in particular those of international trade, such as those pertaining to quantitative restrictions and including non-discriminatory application of QRs, that is Article 11 and 13, balance of payment with respect to Article 12, exception to the principle of non-discrimination with respect to Article 14, exchange arraignment with respect to Article 15, and general exceptions with respect to Article 20 are exceptions to the regulations of commerce and restrictive regulations of commerce that may be allowed as per Article 24. Now we will understand the difference between customs union and free trade areas. The difference lies in the fact that unlike the operation of customs union and free trade areas do not require to have substantially the same duties and other regulations of commerce with respect to customs territories that are not a party to the free trade area. In other words, there is no defined standard with respect to external trade with the members of the free trade area. Therefore, members of the free trade area are free to decide their own duties and regulative restrictions of commerce with third parties, unlike in the case of customs duty, wherein territories of the customs union must have substantially the same duties and regulative restrictions of commerce for third parties. Now we would understand whether regional trade agreements under Article 24 of the GATT are stepping stones or stumbling blocks. The recent surge in regionalism, whether it is in the form of customs union or free trade areas, can be traced to the coming into existence of the WTO. Hence, regional trade agreements have certainly become a prominent part of the international trading system. Nonetheless, given the fact that they operate as an exception to the MFN principle, they have raised several concerns about whether regionalism operates as a stepping stone or stumbling block to the multilateral trade agreement. In a related vein, Mansfield and Milner draw attention to the fact that despite Article 24 prohibiting the level of protection to be higher for non-members than it is or it was prior to the formation of such blocks, in reality the situation seems to be quite the opposite. This is primarily due to the fact that nations do in practice tend to bind the tariff with respect to non-members on the basis of average tariffs for members of such customs union and free trade areas. This factor causes the tariffs to rise as for non-members while eliminating tariffs and other barriers to trade for its members. The Motivating factors of RTAs. Regional trade agreements have benefited the members by providing the latter with the advantage to added trade concessions by reason of preferential access to markets of other members. This in turn aids members to such RTAs to develop better diplomatic ties with other members of the RTA. In other words, how does RTA improve diplomatic ties between members of the RTA? Richardson in his research states that this factor can be better understood by understanding that better diplomatic ties help in promoting peaceful relation with members of the RTA, mainly due to the fact that members are no longer politically empowered to engage in tariff protection strategies on negotiating an RTA. This in turn leads to lowering of political power of independent nations with the heightening of trade integration. In other words, members would no longer be independent but rather mutually interdependent and consequently lead to peace and security across the world. RTAs also improve bargaining power. Such negotiation assists nations to improve their bargaining power vis-a-vis the other nations engaging in international trade. This factor assumes more significance given the fact that nations of the international trade community have begun to find the multilateralism somewhat arduous. Political reasons involve that the most common reason that prompt nations to negotiate RTA are those that help in achieving politically motivated pursuits. This often results in nations being better able to foster and strengthen their relation vis-a-vis other countries, consequently also improving the bargaining relations between such nations. Finger in his research explains that in a comparison of a study between the bargaining positions of Uruguay and Paraguay with India, South Africa and Australia. Hence, he compared the situation of Uruguay and Paraguay on one hand with India, South Africa and Australia on the other hand. He states that due to the fact that Uruguay and Paraguay were involved in RTAs, they were in a better position at the time of the Uruguay rounds that led to the formation of the RTA. Now we would understand the domino effect of regionalism. There is a shift in favor of regionalism that has thus led to the domino effect of regionalism. This in other words means that one regional trade agreement usually motivates other nations to form regional trade agreements. This leads to a sudden surge in regional trade agreements, somewhat giving an effect of a domino effect of regionalism, which in other words mean there are many regional trade agreements that exist simultaneously and there is a sudden surge where nations are prompted because some other nation has formed a regional trade agreement. For most, the so-called domino effect in terms of regionalism has occurred with the increased tendency of nations in the international community to reorganize themselves politically. In this bargain, various other nations tend to be left out from being included in these regional trading blocs. Domino effect of regionalism has in turn led to two other concepts. One is whether regional trade agreements have led to trade creation or they have led to trade diversion, where on the one hand, the WTO promotes fair competition among trade between its members being governments. Regional trade blocs on the other hand are less competitive as trade is in such circumstances merely between the members which may be less efficient than the non-members. On the other hand, Bhagwati and Panagria in their research of 1996 corroborate this eventuality by stating that despite the fact that regionalism is also likely to cause trade creation, it will in all probability have a domino effect on trade diversion. In other words, whereas the groups of part of the regional trade agreements would divert trade from more efficient members which are outside the regional trade agreements to lesser efficient partners which are inside the trade agreement. This is called trade diversion. Hence, At the same time, albeit the fact that it may be true that the recent proliferation of RTAs has raised certain serious implications on multilateral trade in terms of whether the former is a stepping stone or stumbling block, it cannot be denied that regionalism has also served the cause of free trade in the recent years. This is moreover due to the recent impasses in the international trade negotiations over issues such as intellectual property, competition, and more recently over agricultural issues and food security, to name a few. This frustration is more to do with the diverse nature of the members of the WTO, which in turn makes it difficult to reach any form of consensus. With this, we have understood that customs union and free trade areas, although could be detrimental to the interests of multilateralism, have in the past been sort of beneficial to multilateralism. This is because they have motivated certain issues which could not be dealt with at a multilateral level, because they were easier to be dealt with under a regional level. For example, competition, like I just mentioned, food security are some issues which were better targeted at or discussed at a regional level, because they involved the interests of a smaller group. These issues therefore later subsequently became part of multilateral discussions. Hence, regionalism has somewhat promoted these discussions to be dealt with at a multilateral level. It is stated that economists should maintain a strong but rebuttable presumption in favor of all lateral reductions in trade barriers, whether they may be multi, uni, bi, tri or plurilateral. Global liberalization may be best, but regional liberalization is very likely to be good. With this, we have understood that although it may be true that the recent proliferation of RTAs have raised several serious implications on multilateral trade in terms of whether the former is a stepping stone or a stumbling block, it cannot be denied that regionalism has also served the cause of free trade in the recent years. This is moreover due to the recent impasses in the multilateral trade negotiation over issues such as intellectual property, competition, and more recently over agricultural issues and food security, to name a few. Hence, for example, certain topics such as competition, agricultural issues and food security, intellectual properties and trade facilitation have been difficult to negotiate at a multilateral level. These topics have been largely influenced by the deliberations at a regional level. Hence, while they were already deliberated upon at a regional level, it became easier for these topics to be even discussed at a multilateral level. In other words, discussions at a regional level have somewhat influenced discussions at a multilateral level. The frustration is more to do with the diverse nature of the members of the WTO, which in turn makes it difficult to reach any form of consensus. To this end, Summers believes that economics should maintain a strong but rebuttable presumption in favor of all lateral reductions in trade barriers, whether they be multi, uni, bi, tri or plurilateral. Global liberalization may be best, but regional liberalization is very likely to be good. To this end, we have understood several concepts by the end of this discussion. To begin with, we have understood what is a customs union, what is a free trade area, what is substantially all trade, how is regulative restrictions of commerce discussed with under Article 24 of the GATT. We have understood how Article 24 is an exception to Article 1 of the GATT, and even though Article 1 pertains to the concept of most favored nation treatment and non-discrimination, when there is a customs union or free trade area, members of such regional trade agreements may prefer or give preferential treatment to such other members by virtue of being members of the customs union or free trade area. We have understood that there has been a recent surge in regional trade agreements since the birth of the WTO, and this is primarily because nations are finding it increasingly difficult to address their concerns at a multilateral level because there are so many members. Today, the WTO has 160 plus members, whereas regional trade agreements would have very few members. So, this makes it easier for members to address their concerns at a smaller group. Then, we have understood the common forms of RTAs. There are 4 common forms: preferential trade agreements, common markets, customs union and free trade areas. We have understood what is Article 24 of the GATT and how does regionalism fit in. We have understood that this primarily pertains to a closer integration between the economies of the countries that are party to such agreements. We have understood that the prerequisite of Article 24 is that duties and other regulative restrictions of commerce that are imposed must not be higher for non-members, and that we have understood that in case they are higher for non-members, the formation of customs union or free trade area under Article 24 would not be permitted. We have understood that against this, a customs union is a substitution of 2 or more customs territory for 1 customs territory. For this purpose, not only are duties and other regulative restrictions of commerce eliminated, but also that there is a common duty for all other non-members. However, this is not the case in the case of a free trade area. In a case of a free trade area, it is not a common duty for non-members. In a free trade area, all members can choose their own duty towards non-members and the duties are not uniform. We have understood that what is substantially all trade. For this, the term is not defined anywhere, but substantially all trade means that formation does not raise the barriers for trade for those territories that are not party to such customs union. With this, we have explained this with the help of the Turkey importation of textile duties, in which Turkey alleged that it was justified in imposing a quantitative restriction on 19 types of textiles from India. In this case, the panel held that even in the formation of a customs union, if there was substantially all trade was liberalized and all regulative restrictions were eliminated, it does not justify that these trade barriers were raised for members of the WTO who are not members of the customs union. Hence, it must not create an adverse impact on trade. We have understood that the understanding on the interpretation of Article 24 seeks that the general incidence applicable before the formation of such union and overall assessment of the weighted average tariff rate of the customs duty must be calculated. Now, we have also understood that in case of the debate of whether free trade areas or regional trade agreements in a larger aspect are stumbling blocks or stepping stones. We have seen various research to understand whether they are actually stumbling blocks or stepping stones. For example, we have seen how Mansfield and Milner drew attention that even though it seeks that the trade barriers must not be higher for non-members, it has actually been higher for non-members. Thereapart, customs union and free trade areas have been proliferating because they address a smaller group of countries. Also, because countries have been motivated by aspects such as the improvement of diplomatic ties between countries, the free trade areas and customs union promote world peace and security. We have seen that because they are address concerns of a smaller group of countries, and also because they improve the bargaining relation between such nations. For that, we have seen the case study of how Uruguay and Paraguay were in a better position than India, South Africa and Australia, because the former 2 countries, that is Uruguay and Paraguay, were already part of a regional trade agreement. We have seen that there is a recent surge of a domino effect. Various countries have come across to give a domino effect because there is a sudden surge in regional trade agreements. Thereapart, we have understood concepts such as trade creation and trade diversion. These are 2 differing concepts, while some researchers feel that regional trade agreements have given rise to trade creation, some feel that this has led to trade diversion. Thank you.